Okay, so making something the subject of a formula. So first of all, this equation we've got here, h equals d over 3 plus 2, they want us to make d the subject. Okay, so this means that you want to be in a position where d equals or something equals d. Okay, we only want one of them, and it doesn't matter which side of the equation the letter is. Okay, but it must be positive. So this is really just an exercise in moving things around. Okay, so if we put 10 plus 2 equals 12. So at the moment 12 is the subject. Now if they wanted 10 to be the subject, then we would move anything that isn't 10 over the other side. So 10 equals 12 minus 2, because the sign changes as it goes over the equal sign. So now we've made 10 the subject. Okay, so if we take this one here, the d is being divided by the 3. Okay, so we can't move this 3 until we move this random plus 2. So we're going to move that over the other side. So h minus 2 equals d over 3. So now the 3 is dividing the d. So to get d on its own, if the 3 is dividing, if I move it over the other side, instead of divide, it will multiply. So we write 3 and in brackets h minus 2 equals d. Okay. The reason that we put h minus 2 in brackets is because the 3 has to multiply both the h and the minus 2. Okay, so this is something that we do in algebra. So in effect, I've made d the subject, but just to tidy up a little bit, I'm going to multiply the brackets out, so I get rid of the brackets. So 3 times h is 3h, 3 times minus 2 is minus 6, and this of course equals d. Okay, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to go on to the next one. Okay, so here they want f to be the subject. Okay, now granted it looks pretty horrible, but we do one thing at a time. So first, f is in this bracket, so I want to get f out of the bracket. I've also got this as a whole fraction, and I don't want that either. So the first thing I'm going to do, the 9 is dividing everything on the top. So if I move it over the other side, it will multiply. So 9 times c is 9c, and that equals 5 with f minus 32 inside. So we've got rid of the fraction. Okay, we could do that because there's no random numbers after it. So the next thing we do is we get rid of the bracket. We want to get the f out of the bracket. Okay, so 9c equals 5f minus 160. If I'm right, 5 2's are 10, 5 30's are 150, so it's 160. So now we want the f on its own. Okay, it's welded to the 5, so there's nothing we can do about that at the moment, but we can shift this minus 160. And remember, the signs change. So we have 9c plus 160 equals 5f. So we're almost there. So now we just want f on its own. Now 5f is 5 times f. So if I pull this f away, where it was multiplying, it now divides. So we have 9c plus 160, and that will all be over 5. And there you go, we've made f the subject. Okay, so when you first see this, don't freak, just take it one step at a time. Okay, I could have multiplied out the brackets first and then moved the 9. It doesn't matter. What you've got to get used to is moving things. Okay, so again, I'll pause. I'll leave this one here and I'll pause and I'll go on to the next one. Okay, so we come to the next one and they want us to make P the subject. Okay, now we have two lots of P's. We have minus 2p and a p on the other side. Okay, so we want all our p's together. Okay, now the thing is normally I would keep the biggest value of the unknown where it is, but here it's a minus. That's no good to me. I want plus p. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here, knowing that the minus 2p will become plus 2p. And this plus 4 is going to go over the other side because I just want p's on the right and anything that isn't a p on the left. So we have q. Now instead of plus 4, it will be minus 4 equals p plus 2p. So we just collect the p's together, so we tidy it up a bit. So q minus 4 equals p plus 2p gives us 3p. Now we just want 1p on its own. So as we did over here, 3p is 3 times p. So if I move the 3 over to get p on its own, instead of multiplying, it becomes divide. So we get q minus 4 all divided by 3 equals p. So we've made p the subject. Okay, so knowing things like minus 2p, yeah, okay, that's not a problem, but we're using maths to help us, okay? So I know that if I move this plus minus 2p over the other side, it's going to turn into a plus 2p. So I use that rule to my advantage. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one. Okay, so this time they want W to be the subject. So we have two lots of W like we did with the P's before, okay, but we want to make them all positive. So this minus AW is going to go over the other side so that all the W's are positive. And this minus 1 we move the other way because we just want W's on the right hand side. So remember the signs change. So Y plus 1 equals 2W plus AW. Okay, so we've got all the W's on one side. Now this next step is used a lot when we're making something the subject. We've got a W here and we've got a W here, but this W has a 2 attached to it. This W has an A attached to it. So the only way we can get from 2 W's to 1 W is to factorize out W, which is what you've done on previous occasions with factorizing. So W is common to both, okay? So W multiplied by 2 will give me 2W, and W multiplied by A will give me AW. So instead of having 2 W's, by factorizing it out, we've now just got the 1 W. Okay, so this is done quite a lot. So the W is multiplying what's inside this bracket, the 2A, the 2 plus A. So I want, now I've gone to all the trouble of finding just one W, I just want this W on its own. So what's in this bracket is multiplying. So I can take what's in this bracket over the other side and divide. So we've got Y plus 1 divided by 2 plus A. And there you go, we've made W the subject of the formula, okay? So look out for this, because inevitably you're going to factorize what you want out and then move the other side over, okay? So I'll keep that one there and I'll see if I can find one that's similar. So I'll just pause. Okay, so I found one that's similar. Okay, so at the moment Q is the subject. So we need to make T the subject. So two things that we don't really want in algebra unless we can help it. One is brackets, so get rid of the brackets. The other one is fractions. Get rid of the fraction. So the 2 minus 4t is being divided by t plus 3. So if I move this t plus 3 over the other side, instead of dividing, it's going to multiply. So as I said to you before, goes inside a bracket to remind you that everything gets multiplied by q, and that will give you 2 minus 4t. Okay, so everything now is on a straight line, we've not got this fraction. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the bracket. So q times t is qt, and q times 3 is 3q, and that equals 2 minus 4t. Okay, now we want all our t's together, preferably all positive. So this t attached to the q, that's positive, but this 4t is negative. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use the rule to help me. So I'm going to pull all my t's to the left, and anything that isn't a t goes to the other side. So we have qt plus 4t equals 2 minus 3q. Okay, remember signs change. So now what we want is we want t on its own. Very similar to what we did here. We've got a qt and a 4t. So we want just one t on its own. So we're going to factorise t out so that we just get the 1t. So t times q will give us qt, and t times plus 4 will give us 4t, and that will equal 2 minus 3q. Okay, so now we've just got the 1t, and again very similar to what we did here, the q plus 4 is multiplying, so if I move it over the other side it divides, so we get t equals 2 minus 3q all over q plus 4. Okay, so this is all about gaining confidence in manoeuvring and manipulating formulae, okay, which you will have to do at some point for various things. Okay, you may, for Pythagoras, a squared equals b, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and you might want to find b squared, so you're going to have to manipulate that formula to make b squared the subject. Okay, so this is the purpose of making something the subject. Okay, so just one other thing that I want to go over. So again, I'll pause for a second. Okay, so this is if we've got something being squared or something that's the root of. Okay, so they want us to make y the subject. Okay, now we've only got the one y, it's being squared, but we've just got the one y, but it's a minus and we want a plus. So we're going to move it over the other side, and this x we don't want because it's not a y, so we're going to move that over the other side as well. So we get 2by squared equals a minus x. Okay, So we've now made 2by squared positive, and we've got everything over the other side that hasn't got a y in it. So now we want this y, albeit it's being squared, we want this y squared on its own. So the 2b is multiplying the y squared. So I can move that 2b over the other side and divide. So y squared equals a minus x divided by 2b. Okay, now we're almost there. So we want to find what y is, not y squared. So what we do is we apply the antidote, if you like, to y squared. And the exact opposite of y squared is the root. Okay, so if I just explain that to you. If I've got the root, let's say I've got 4 squared equals 16. Now if I root both sides, okay, so you wouldn't write this, but let's say you've got the root of 4 squared equals the root of 16. Okay, now we know the root of 16 is 4. We also know that the root of 4 squared is 4, because 4 squared is 16, and we've just said that the root of 16 is 4. So you can see that if you root both sides, the root will cancel the square, okay, and you'll just get the number. Okay, so if I've got 7 squared and I just want 7, then the root of 7 squared, the root will cancel the squared, leaving me 7, because 7 squared is 49 and the square root of 49 is 7. Okay, so what we do is we root both sides. So this is where the balance method comes in. Okay, sometimes you'll use the balance method, sometimes you'll use, they call it floating ping, but I move numbers and letters, and you need to know how to do both. Okay, so if I root y squared, I know that I get y. So I now have to root everything that's on the other side. So that will be a minus x all over 2b. Okay, it would be the root of everything there. Now we haven't got a faintest idea of what this is, so this is as far as we can go. Okay, so I hope I've explained it okay, and you know you can get the drift. You can always ask me to go over it again online, but making something the subject is just an exercise in manipulating formulae, which you will do later. You won't in real life manipulate anything sort of even vaguely anything coming near this, but it is something that you need to be able to do. Okay, it will just build your confidence. So I hope that helps, and just carry on doing what you're doing.